A couple of months ago, Mount Kenya was visible. The snow was quite clear from very far. It was a spectacular view. In fact, Kenyans in their typical style said they could see Mount Kenya from Westlands. Those are Kenyans for you. But the fact is, it was visible from very far and very beautiful. That got me thinking. It seemed to be symbolizing something, some kind of clarity coming up around the mountain. And indeed, this week, we have had two major activities from Kikuyu or Mount Kenya leadership. The first one was of leaders, many elected leaders, political leaders, meeting in a hotel. Although they did not say much, we could already guess what they were talking about. This was quickly followed a day or two later by a meeting of Mount Kenya elders. Again, in their typical style, the elders only spoke in a way you wouldn't understand what they are saying. Waswahili wanasema kwa mafumbo. The only political statement the elders made was that they support the BBI. But they also said that there would be a politician perhaps they do not support and they were not going to support. They didn't mention that politician. People were left guessing. Some pundits say it was Raila, others said it was William Ruto. But that's besides the point. Today, I want to talk about two things that seem to be emerging from the mountain. Two things that these two meetings seem to signal. One is that Mount Kenya symbolically clearing would, in my assessment, be an indication that Mount Kenya is now mopping up the remnants of William Samoei Ruto. And not because I hate him. That Mount Kenya is finishing the job of ensuring that the entire leadership of the Mount is no longer with William Samoei Ruto. Anybody keen would have observed that about a year or 2 years ago, the entire Mount Kenya leadership from business leadership to political leadership, community leadership, including the church leadership. One would recall the bishop who openly said stuff about William Samoei Ruto in a church function at a time Uhuru was really hitting at those people who are campaigning for 2022. This bishop came out clearly in support of William Samoei Ruto. Now, again, if you are keen, you'll realize that the first people to desert Ruto were the business leadership, the captains of industry from Mount Kenya, who had initially started off with William Samoei Ruto, walked away from him. This was followed by other types of leadership, including church leadership. And then the devolved leadership, all the governors from Mount Kenya, then joined Anne Waiguru and Kiraitu Murungi, and they are all family with the handshake. That left Ruto with elected leaders, parliamentary leadership. And now, your guess is as good as mine. Are they with him? The answer is a clear no. Ruto hardly has any serious leadership following from the Mount Kenya. So this series of meetings, these activities, including the night meetings that William Ruto alluded to, are meant to ensure that whatever was left, the Matigaris, whatever was left of William Samoei Ruto in the mountain, in form of leadership, so that if you look around, all the MPs who are supporting Ruto have either crossed, like Kate, Morogoro, or are in the process of doing it, or are quiet, knowing what could befall them, or are nominally supporting William Ruto. Any such a MP who is still following William Samoei Ruto from the Mount Kenya region is actually limping and wobbling. Now, so these meetings are to ensure that the entire leadership of Mount Kenya region is with the handshake, BBI and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. That leaves the ground. The ground has been William Samoei Ruto. When I say this, some people don't like it. Up to 80% of Mount Kenya ground has been William Samoei Ruto. But the leadership of the handshake under Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, having cleared with the leadership, will now handle the common mwananchi. And if you are keen and you now walk around Mount Kenya, you will notice that the elderly, the old people, have begun to shift. They have begun talking in sayings like my friend D.S. Njoroge said. That leaves the young people, young men and women, still with William Samoei Ruto. So if you can see this thing clearly for what it is, as clearly as the Mount Kenya is visible, the people of the Mount are being headed and directed to face Mount Kenya. Now, talking about leadership, the second thing that came out of the mountain in this week alone was the issue of leadership. The Mount Kenya leadership is clearly coming out to identify one of their own who will be on the table in 2022. Because, like I've said repeatedly, many may not like it, 2022 will be a boardroom decision. There is going to be consensus democracy, guided democracy, where those in the BBI will kind of share the spoils. It may not be good for democracy, but that is what is going to happen. And if that happens for 5 or 10 years to stabilize the country, I may not have a problem with it. It may injure democracy. But if in the long run it will pay dividends, then I'll support it. But that's what's going. So they are now meeting to identify one of their own. And Peter Kenneth emerges, PK, emerges top on the list. That's why he was with the elected leaders in that hotel this week when they were meeting. He's emerging the person the Mount Kenya will want to front. And why? Because if Uhuru wants to sell BBI, he must convince the Mount Kenya region that they are there. They may not go for the presidency because it will be very difficult to sell another Kikuyu president to the country. It was in fact difficult in 2011 for Kibaki to be succeeded by another Kikuyu. It took the ICC to solve that problem. So I don't think this time they will be naive enough. But they want somebody senior there. Now, Uhuru may want to be the person to represent the interests of the community. But Uhuru must be intelligent enough to know that should he say he's going anywhere near power directly in 2022, people will go for him. The civil society, progressive forces, international community. He will be betraying what he said on some international media, that he's leaving in 2022. He may not be leaving, but he needs somebody. So what they are doing now is to create a father figure around whom the Mount Kenya people can organize. And that leaves Peter Kenneth, because the rest are just small miners, and the others are not very clear about what they want to do. So that is what they are doing. And there's something else they are doing. In so doing, they want to sell chicken in the manner in which you buy chicken on the roadside if you are driving. When you stop where those chicken sellers are, they rush to you with chicken. But you will notice one thing. They never come with one. It is a package of 3 or 4 tied together. The legs are tied together. Now, when you hold them, if you are a Luya and you must see the weight, well, the weight is good. The chicken, 2, 3 or 4, nice, good weight, nice looking. Then you go home after you buy. When you buy them and go home, there is one you'll throw away. It is so bad, has completely no weight. It was almost next to dying. It has been on the road for a long time until it has lost all weight, or it is not healthy. That is what the Mount Kenya people are doing. They may intend to sell Raila Amolo Odinga, but for some reason, the people of the mountain have been made to hate Raila Odinga. For that reason, they want to create a package. In this package, they will have Peter Kenneth, Uhuru in the background, and in that package they will then put in somebody Raila Odinga. That may work. And all this is going on right before our own eyes. And in the coming days, I suspect there is a lot we are going to hear from the mountain. A lot we are going to hear coming from the mountain. And that must open the eyes of one William Samoei Ruto. He must now see clearly that what I told him was true. That when you are doing arithmetics about your votes, let Mount Kenya votes be a bonus vote. If you are doing it and making Mount Kenya a major component, a major figure in your arithmetics for 2022, William Samoei Ruto, you will have gotten it wrong, because you can see now, unfolding before your own eyes, the mountain is slipping away from you.